Hi friends, I'm Joe Hopkins, and this is 5 Minutes to Make Sense of the Bible. Today we focus on Mark chapter 14, verses 32 through 42, which tell the story of Jesus praying in Gethsemane. There is a good chance that even if you only go to church on Christmas and Easter, you are familiar with this story. So let's dive in, and I'll share some context and connections for these verses and then offer some avenues for reflection. This story is one of the more famous scenes of Jesus' life. Christians often talk about this event as part of the larger Passion narrative, which is essentially the final hours of Jesus' life before he dies on the cross. Churches often reflect on the stories of this Passion narrative during the week before Easter. But even if you don't go to church, you may have seen versions of this scene, which itself is sometimes called the agony in the garden. There are countless paintings and stained glass windows that depict Jesus praying in Gethsemane. There are also multiple movies with this scene, including Jesus Christ Superstar and The Passion of the Christ. I encourage you to read this passage and then compare what you read with the movie versions. While you're on YouTube and everything. According to the Synoptic Gospels, those are Matthew, Mark, and Luke, Jesus travels with his disciples from where they had their Last Supper to somewhere else where they could pray. The Gospels of Matthew and Mark both call this place Gethsemane, while Luke calls it the Mount of Olives. Gethsemane is a Greek rendering of a word in Aramaic that means an oil press, which is a mechanism by which oil is produced from olives. To this day, there is an olive grove on the Mount of Olives outside of the old city of Jerusalem in the Holy Land. Now, this grove certainly doesn't contain the trees among which Jesus prayed. The imperial Roman legions destroyed Jerusalem and its surrounding area in AD 70, but this contemporary olive tree grove probably preserves the vibe of the place where Jesus actually prayed. In the Gospel of Mark's version, Jesus sheds disciples as he walks deeper into Gethsemane. First, he tells all but Peter, James, and John to stay put and pray. Later, Jesus is basically alone in his agonizing prayer. The Greek words describing Jesus' condition depict someone on the verge of convulsions. And so Jesus prays to God for the hour to pass from him and the cup to be removed from him. Jesus is all too aware of the tortuous death that he will soon experience. And yet he concludes, "Not what I want, but what you want." And what a juxtaposition is the anguished Jesus next to the sleepy Peter, James, and John. 3 different times, Jesus leaves his solitary prayer time to address his inner circle of followers, and each time Jesus finds them asleep. Jesus responds to his weary companions with the oft-quoted phrase, "The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." And after the final time of discovering his friends asleep during his greatest time of stress, Jesus announces that the time has come for him to be betrayed to the corrupt authorities. Whew, that felt heavy. But let's stick with it and reflect some more. First, have you seen this scene of Jesus praying in Gethsemane? What images, songs, or other texts about this scene have impacted you, and why might that be? Do you have a specific place that you like to visit when you are feeling highly stressed? What draws you to this place when you are feeling overwhelmed? And finally, imagine yourself in this story. What group or person are you with? The 9 disciples left on the edge of Gethsemane who aren't so aware of Jesus' anguish? The 3 whom Jesus trusts to pray with him but end up falling asleep? Or Jesus himself, deeply grieved, even to death? So there, 5 minutes to make sense of the Bible. I will be preaching a sermon based on these verses in Mark chapter 14 at Streetsville United Church on Sunday, so check out our YouTube channel for a recording of that worship service. And as you read the Bible by yourself, pay attention to what piques your curiosity. The Holy Spirit often tries to catch our attention through our curiosity. And as always, while it's good to read the Bible by ourselves, we make the most sense of the Bible when we read the Bible together. Peace, friends.